plan of what I was going to film for today's video, but I decided to scrap it because I thought that this might be a little bit more helpful for you. I came up with a list of 6 of my favorite picture books to read aloud to talk about setting goals with your students. I know that January after vacation is a time when teachers often set goals with their students. However, these books can be used any time of the year to talk about goal setting. And I even have a free activity and craft for you to do with your students all about setting goals in the classroom. So I hope that you will grab your coffee, come join me by the fire, and we can chat all about these books. So I hope that you've grabbed your cup of coffee and you're ready to talk about books that we can use in our classroom to talk to our students about setting goals. Now, these books that I have might not be the traditional goal-setting books that you might have heard of before, but they all kind of connect together, and by reading all of them, you can really go through the goal-setting process with your students. So I want to go over just a couple goal-setting things with you, and then we're going to jump right into the books. So first, when we're talking about setting goals with our students, we want them first to reflect back on things that they do well, because using that as a starting point will help them feel more confident and excited to set another goal. Then once they've thought about what they are really good at, have your students think about things that they want to get better at. What's something that they want to learn or they kind of can do but want to do better? Use that to then help them set their goal, make a plan with them, and then encourage them to persevere and work really hard to hopefully achieve that goal eventually. So the books that I have are going to walk through some of those steps. So I'm going to explain how they all go together. So the first book that I want to share with you is one of my absolute favorite books. It is After the Fall, and this one is really about reflecting on the choices that you make. Humpty Dumpty falls off the wall and he thinks about how he really loved being up on that wall, but now he's really nervous to get back up because he fell. So this book really talks about getting back up again, dusting yourself off, and trying again. Humpty sets that goal to get back up on the wall, thinks about ideas on how he can do that again, and then perseveres as he puts it into action. So this is a great first book to read when talking about setting goals with your students. The next book that I have is Jabari Jumps. Jabari really wants to get better at something. He wants to learn to jump off the high dive. And now this is really scary, but he tries again. He talks with his dad about it a little bit, and then he eventually climbs up that ladder and jumps off. Another great goal-setting book for your students about how sometimes when we set goals, they can be a little scary, and that we're not always going to get it right the first time, but if we keep trying, we'll eventually get to our goal. And if you're looking for more resources to go along with Jabari Jumps, I have a free interactive read aloud that you can download. I'll leave the link to that in the description below. The next book that I have is an oldie but a goodie. This one is A Chair for My Mother. In this story, it's a young girl, her mom and her grandmother, and they lose everything in a fire. Their family and their community comes together to help them out, but one of the things that they really want is a nice, comfortable chair for the grandmother to relax in, for the mom to sit in after a long day's work, for the daughter to sit in with them while they read a story. And so throughout this story, they work hard to earn money to get this comfortable chair in their house. So they set that goal to buy this chair, and each day they chip away at it a little bit. They add a few more coins to their savings jar, bit by bit by bit, and it shows how those little steps, no matter how small, even if it's just pennies going to the jar, add up until they finally have enough money to get that nice, comfortable chair. I love this book for goal setting because it talks about how they have that goal and they work bit by bit to get it. Even those small steps add up. Even those pennies that go into the jar are one step closer to them reaching their goal. And sometimes students get frustrated when it takes a long time to reach their goal and that they're only making those little steps. But this shows how all of that comes together in the end and how wonderful it feels when you finally reach that goal that you set. The next book that I have for setting goals is Salt in His Shoes. And this is the story of a young Michael Jordan. He almost gave up on his dream to be a basketball star because he didn't believe in himself. He felt that he was too small to be a basketball player, even though he really loved the game, and he got frustrated when he didn't do as well as he wanted. He sets a goal for himself to really work hard and become a better basketball player. He sets up that action plan and gets to work. He practices every day. And even though he doesn't get any taller right away, his skills that he practices every day make him the better basketball player. With the help of his family, he really sees the power in himself. And it's a great example of patience, determination, and hard work, and how all of those things will get you to your goal. I also have an interactive read aloud for the book Stall in His Shoes that you can use in your classroom as you read this book aloud with your students. I'll leave the link to that in the description below. Next, we have another Jabari book. Can you tell he's one of my favorites? In this one, there's a brand new one, Jabari Tries. Jabarin really wants to make a flying machine, but he soon learns it's hard work. He wants to do it all on his own, figure it out, but he gets frustrated. In the end, with a little bit of help from someone else, he succeeds in his goal. And this book is great because it shows how trying to accomplish a goal can be frustrating. That it's going to take a lot of tries, but that you shouldn't give up. And I think that's really important for students to see, that you're not gonna get it right the first time. You're not gonna get it right the second time, maybe not the third or the fourth. But each time you try, you're gonna get a little bit closer to getting to that goal. And yes, it's gonna be frustrating. And yes, you might need to ask for help from others. And yes, you're gonna need to try different ways, but by persevering, you will get to that goal that you've set for yourself. Such an important message for students. Another great book about goal setting. And the last book that I have to use in your classroom to talk to your students about setting goals is Because. And this story is how an orchestra conductor came to be. It's really neat because it works backwards from how everything started. Everything that needed to fall into place in order for her to get to where she is. All the hard work that she needed to put in to fulfill her dream. And I really like how it talks about why setting and accomplishing goals is so important. And it's something that we should consistently do, not only as students, but as we grow up and throughout our lives. And to make it easier for you, I've left links to all of these books below so that you can grab them to use in your classroom. So to go along with all of these books that I've shared, I have a free setting goals activity and worksheet for you to use in your classroom. The link is in the description below. Just click it and you can download it and use it in your classroom this week. First, I have an activity sheet for your students to do, and it goes through some of the steps that we talked about with the books. So students will reflect on something that they are good at. Then they'll think about something that they want to get better at. In the middle, they'll set their goal, and underneath, they'll talk about the steps that they need to take in order to achieve that goal. So that's something you can do with your students after reading these books. I also have a little Craftivity that you can do. This is also part of the free download that you can grab below. It just says my goal. And again, similar to the activity sheet, they'll reflect on something that they are good at, something they want to get better at, and then finally setting their goal and the action steps that they're going to take to reach that goal. So the link to grab both of these is in the description below. Just click it and you'll be able to use those in your classroom this week. Goal setting with your students is so important. We want our students to be problem solvers. We want them to think bigger and how they can get better at things in school, in life in general. We want to teach them how to set goals and how wonderful it feels when they actually achieve those goals. When they have something to focus on and work towards, it helps them persevere. Such an important skill for them to have in life. And using picture books is a great way to do this with your students. It helps them see somebody else go through something. It helps them see them struggle, persevere, what steps they take to finally reach that goal that they've set for themselves. It gives them that outside perspective that they can then connect to their own life and figure out how they can do that on their own. So I highly recommend reading all of these books aloud in your classroom to talk about goal setting, and then completing these activities with them to really get them off on that path of learning how to set goals and how great it feels when they accomplish those goals. And if you're looking for other book titles to read aloud in your classroom, I'm gonna link a video I have right here, my favorite books that were released in 2020. All brand new books that I think your students will love. If these books and lesson activities were helpful for you, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel below because I'll be back next Sunday night with more book ideas and read aloud tips for you to use in your classroom. Have a great week. Subscribe. Books. Make sure you